7. It looks like the warning from my last video has rang true as store shelves are empty. And we were warned about this by a guy that worked in this industry that came to work and had nothing to do, and he warned that this was going to happen. Some are asking, how can this happen this day and age where the food supply is disrupted in this manner? They're now coming out and just straight up saying a big cyber attack on Whole Food Supplier has sparked all these shortages. As you can see here, shelves empty all over the place. People kind of freaking out about this with the timing of other things happening across the country. Some feel like this is kind of a setup. They look to have this back in order by the weekend, but they can't guarantee that. When you're dealing with a cyber attack, sometimes they're ransom attacks. We don't know how deep this goes. We do know from the insider that I shared in my last video, he had said that he went in and he assumed that this is what was happening because there was nothing to be done and they were down all weekend and there was no response. There was like no quick fix. Wasn't any word on anything being fixed. They're just trying to calm the public down right now, saying we'll have everything fixed hopefully by this weekend. By Sunday is what they're targeting. So just want to share this and get it out there that the guy was right and the warning was right. And unfortunately, people are seeing a hit at the store. If you guys are, let me know. Not everyone is going to see this because it's only coming from this supplier. But definitely these stores connected to it are seeing it big time. Again, let me know in the comments section. Join me for the live streams Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on Dabu77. Stay sharp, y'all.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that is due to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Kakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the whole elect. Noise in the gospel, broad lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. It says temporary disruptions, cyber attack on Whole Food Supply spark store shortages, which looks like this is a manufactured famine on a cusp of chaos and economic decline and tensions and riots and civil unrest taking place around the world. It makes sense that the famine will be close because the scriptures goes into the four sword judgment, the famine, the pestilence, the noisome beast, the dogs to tear. These things are going to happen simultaneously as Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai is pouring out his judgments upon Babylon. Beautiful time to be alive, man. So it says the North American grocery wholesaler United Natural Foods, which is the UNFI, a primary distributor for the Whole Foods market, has been hit by a cyber attack that temporarily paralyzed U.S. operations. Wow. And and Whole Foods, that's a very popular food chain because that's one of the so-called healthy ones, which technically their food is no more healthier than Kroger's when it comes to your food for lesses or your Jewel Oscos, your Dominick's, your Ultra Foods, your Price Choppers, your Hy-V's. It's just pretty much high price. It's just high dollar garbage. Okay. Which I'm not saying Whole Foods is not a reliable place to get some decent grade, decent food. But overall, the American food supply has been tainted as a whole, because nothing is produced here. Everything is outsourced for cheap labor. But it says the company is working to restore systems by the weekend, but the disruption has already led to reports of empty shelves at some Whole Foods location due to delayed shipments. Now, it was an article that I had queued up earlier, but I actually took it off the phone, which was going into the halting of the supply chains, going back into the tariffs, which Trump paused the tariffs on most countries for 90 days. But the turmoil that's taking place around the world, these things may very well pick up and at a more accelerated pace. But it says last Thursday, the UNFI revealed in a filing with the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission that it activated its incident response plans and implemented containment measures, including proactively taking certain systems offline after uncovering unauthorized network activity on the systems. It says the incident has caused and is expected to continue to cause temporary disruptions to the company's business operations. It says, from 8K continued, adding the company is working to actively assess, mitigate, and remediate the incident and with the census of the third-party cybersecurity professionals and has notified law enforcement, like what they gonna do. But it says, fast forward to Monday, they told customers in an email obtained by Bloomberg that it was working towards the goal of returning to full operational capacity by Sunday, soon, while apologizing for disruption. Now, this right here, a famine, this will start organic riots because the average person in America, only thing they're concerned with is bread and circuses, and if they can get up and go to work every single day. That's the only thing they're concerned about. As long as they got food in the refrigerator and as long as they can have somewhat of affordability when it comes to groceries, then they will never revolt. Like one of the elites said, they said, give the people bread and circus and they will never revolt. So as long as they have food, entertainment on weekends, and drinks, these people will always be in a frenzy. They would never come up against the system because they're like cattle. They're being fed. They're pigs. But it says here, operations halted the shutdown of all business systems, including ordering and shipping, after detecting intruders in its network. Which all this cyber attack shit is all inside job. It says forklift operators were sent home and some resumed work using pen and paper systems. Clients like National Co-op grocers made special requests to keep top-selling product moving. Then a response is working with cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike and has been reported the incident to the FBI. Confirmed supply disruption. Shelves in some Manhattan stores were visibly empty. But the UNFI CEO, Sandy Douglas, informed investors during Tuesday earnings called that intruders had compromised IT systems and back systems related to the supply chain were down. It says, we believe we are managing the incident capably with a very strong team of inside and outside professionals, including specialized experts, Douglas said, adding, we will continue to keep our customer suppliers and associates regularly updated on our progress and next steps. But Bloomberg reported that at least one Whole Food location in Manhattan had partially empty shelves as a result of the disruption. And this is just a picture and depiction of what's going on here, because this is a manufactured famine. Okay, when they bring in a famine, then the pestilence ensue. And then when the famine comes, this is one tool that they can use to get people to take the MOTB by dangling that carrot over their head. Because as I mentioned earlier, as long as the average peon American has food in their network, they will never revolt. And this is one way that they can use to get people to take the mark of the beast, because, essentially you need food to live, right? So a famine is definitely on the way, man. So let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra 14, 2nd Ezra 7, no, Ezekiel 7, and I'm going to start at verses 12. It says here, the time is come and the day draweth near. Let not the buyer rejoice, nor the seller mourn. It says, for wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. Yeah, because, people buy things in order to offset some type of depression. But there's going to come a time that, like the scriptures say, they should not drink wine with the song. Literally, people are what they call binge shopping out of emotional sentiment, and they're not fulfilled. Okay, because people are empty. But the seller mourn, for wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. It says, for the seller should not return to that which is sold, all that they were yet alive. For the vision is touching the whole multitude thereof, which should not return. Neither shall any strengthen himself in the iniquity of his life, right? So push come to shove, when shit hits the fan and supply systems halt and the famine comes aboard, then people are going to start to lose their minds, man. And this is when we're going to see 2nd Ezra really pop off the page, because that's when the invasion of one another and the invasion of neighbors will come into play, when people are looting people's homes with weapons and guns, marauders going by to take what people have and what they don't have. It's going to get real once the famine comes in. And then there would definitely be a military presence on the street. And I believe this is why they're setting everything in perspective, because they're getting ready to knock these systems offline. Remember, they got to 2030 to get their new world order. Okay, and in some cases before then. So we're looking to see systems go offline any day now while they are building up the new infrastructure. But it reads, it says, the sword is without, and a pestilence and a famine within, the famine. And he that is in the field shall die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him. So if you part of the city, or you in the city, you will result to cannibalism. And those of you that don't resort to cannibalism, you're going to starve out and you're going to die. Okay, eating your children, eating your sons and your daughters, wives turning on husbands, vice versa. This is all getting ready to be a real, this is all getting ready to be real life, man. Okay, and the scriptures are getting ready to come to life, as it tells us in the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. Let's pull that. Habakkuk 2, and I'm going to start at verses 3. It says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry." So, hey, man, when that famine kicks in and the first sign of these global markets going offline and banks are shut down and people ain't getting their money out the ATMs, this is when you're going to see the organic chaos, man. Okay, this is when people are going to start attacking government officials and banks and, high-level officials organically, because you're literally fucking with people's livelihoods, man. Okay, we're not there yet, but we're close, as we're seeing these riots brew up in these cities, which is spreaded through agent provocatories. But, hey, famine is going to be the one that set this shit on his back, man. Okay? This is the book of Jeremiah 15, and I'm going to start at verses 2. And it says, "And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, Whether shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, Thus says Yahweh, such are for death to death, and such are for the sword to the sword, and such are for the famine to the famine, and such are for the captivity to the captivity." So the Most High have a certain number of people to be destroyed by each judgment. So if the Lord's, let's just say, and I'm speaking, as a man when I say this, but let's just say if the Lord commissioned 1 million people to die by the famine, that's within the balance versus the FEMA camps and the beast and the missiles. It's all a complete balance of the souls of what Yahweh wants to accomplish, because the Lord does not do anything out of balance. So those of you that will die in the famine is already orchestrated that this said amount of people will perish by famine. Because when Walmart shuts down and Target and your fast food restaurants like your Mickey D's, your Burger Kings, and your Wendy's, your Chick-fil-A's, your mom and pop grocery stores, your city markets shut down, hey, that's it. People are going to line up outside grocery stores and they're going to literally fight for the one of all thing. Because what most people do when shit getting ready to hit the fan, then everybody goes to the grocery store and then it becomes chaotic. People start trampling over one another. They start fighting each other for what they got in their carts. And we saw that during the 2020 ordeal when everybody was fighting over toilet paper. So how much more food when that's your means of survival, man? All right, it's going to get bad. 2nd Ezra 6 and 22. It says, "And suddenly should the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses should be suddenly found empty." It says suddenly. And with this so-called cyber attack, which I think this is all done on purpose to bring in chaos. But nonetheless, hey, this happened abruptly because Whole Foods is not known for having shortages. Okay, because that's a multi-million-dollar chain a year. You see? So it's not looking good. "And a trumpet should give a sound, and when every man heareth, they should suddenly be afraid. And at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies." Friends, okay? Men you grew up with, families, hell, even divisions among the truth. You're going to have men that's going to fall out and they're going to come up against brothers, man. But it says at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear, but those that dwell therein, and the springs and the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Yeah, because there will be a complete halt to this system. And we're witnessing it. All right, 2nd Ezra 15, and I'm going to start at verses 17, 18. It says, "Because of their pride, the city should be troubled." And we're seeing it. They're burning the cities down. "And the houses should be destroyed. Men should be afraid, and the men should have no pity upon his neighbor, but should destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and great tribulation," man. The lack of bread. Okay, when you go 3-4 days without eating food, hey, they say you don't never know what you would do until you go hungry. So you can't say what you won't do until your stomach is touching your back. Then somehow you garnered up the strength to do what you got to do. All right, 2nd Ezra 16 and 18. "The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, and the beginning of famine." Okay, famine is that big boogeyman because everybody in America consumes more than what they needs. Okay, the average person eats 2 meals too many. They eat a meal over or a meal or two over because most people eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then they have snacks in between. Nah, bruh, that ain't how it work. Lunch and dinner, or breakfast or dinner, or you eat lunch and then you eat a meal at night, prior to, not too late, but not too late, but not, within a reasonable time. But it says here, but the power should stand in fear, the beginning of evils. But what shall I do when these evils come? And this is a question. Depend on Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, because, hey, Lord's will, we're protected, man, and that we're fed, because the scriptures say, my servants shall eat. But it says, but behold, famine and plague and tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for a moment. But for all these things, they should not turn from their wickedness, nor always be mindful of their scourges. So they're going to still cast it all behind them because of the pride, But it says here, behold, victuals should be so good cheap upon the earth, that they should think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. So the Bible predicts famine in the times we in. And it says here, and for many of them that dwell on the earth shall perish of famine. There go famine again. And the others that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So it's going to be bad out here, man. People are going to literally starve to death. And it says, and the dead should be cast out as dung, and shall no man be left to comfort them. For the earth should be wasted, and the city should be casted down. And we're going to see that through riots and skirmishes and civil unrest and all this other stuff, man. All right, but going down to 31, it says, even so in those days, there should be 3 or 4 left by them that search their houses with the sword. Yeah, because they're going to be like looking for food, looking for supplies. And they showed you that on that game called The Last of Us. Verses 34, it says, and the wars and their bridegrooms should be destroyed, and their husbands should perish of famine. So that go that word famine again, man. All right, the plagues, famine. Hey, it tells us here in verses 40, it says, O my people, hear my word and make you ready to thy battle. And those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. So brothers, get in a habit of moving around, man. Walking, exercising, doing what you got to do, because, hey, we ain't going to lay dormant while hell is breaking loose around us, bro, because it's going to get chaotic. You ain't just going to be hiding out in your house, especially if you live in the middle of the metropolis. Your house going to get raided and ransacked. And if you in there, they going to take you and your woman and your kids. So be mindful of these things, man. 2nd Esdras 15. 15. And let's start at verses 57. It says, thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall down through the sword, and the city shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field. And they that be in the mountain shall die of hunger, and eat their own flesh, cannibalism, and drink their own blood, for very hunger of bread and a thirst of water. Wow, shit. This is prophesied. This is in the scriptures, man. People say, oh, yeah, that ain't going to happen. Okay. Keep saying it ain't going to happen. We're reading it. Hold on. Job 5:20. Yep, 5:20. Start at 19. It says, he should deliver thee in 6 troubles. Yea, the 7th, there shall no evil touch thee. And in famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword. And thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue. Neither shalt thou be afraid of destruction when it cometh. And at destruction and famine thou shalt laugh. Neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth. It says, for thou shalt be in a league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with thee. And thou shalt know that thy tabernacle shall be in peace, and that thou shalt visit thy habitation and shall not sin. All right. So, yeah, man, it's getting ready to go down, but I'm going to end it giving all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Rakakwadash. Lord's will, you will edify. Until the next lesson. Shalom.